Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Commute English Learning Pro. Whether you're on your way to work, maybe walking the dog, or just relaxing at home, we are so glad you're hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into a situation that is, well, honestly, it's universally frustrating for anyone learning a
Oh,
language.
totally. I think everyone knows exactly what we're about to talk about.
Right. So picture this. You're sitting on your couch and you're totally engrossed in this movie. It's in English. There are no subtitles at all, and you are catching absolutely everything.
Every single word.
Yeah, you're laughing at the subtle jokes, you're, easily following the complex plot twists, or maybe you're reading a really dense English novel and it's just flowing into your brain effortlessly.
You feel like an absolute linguistic genius in that moment.
Exactly. You feel unstoppable, but then you step outside, someone comes up to you and asks a basic everyday question in English, and you open your mouth to respond, and nothing.
Total system failure. Complete freeze. Your brain just shuts down. Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission for today's deep dive is to figure out exactly why this happens and, more importantly, how to fix it.
Right, because it's an incredibly isolating feeling. You have the vocabulary in there somewhere.
Yeah, you know the grammar rules.
Exactly. But it feels as though the language is just locked inside a vault. And the moment you actually need to use it, you've somehow completely forgotten the combination.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And to help us figure this out, we are looking at this really insightful video from the popular YouTube channel called POC English. The video is called Understand English But Can't Speak. Fix It Now.
Yeah, it's a great source. And the creator of that video completely reframes this entire plateau that learners hit.
Oh yeah, the way they break it down is so helpful.
What's fascinating here is realizing that language learning isn't just like one big messy bucket of knowing English. It's actually divided into two entirely separate cognitive processes.
Okay, separate processes. Tell me more about that. Well, you have input and you have output. And understanding the barrier between those two functions is basically the key to unlocking this whole puzzle.
Right, because input is simply receiving information, right? It's totally passive.
Exactly. When you're watching that movie or, listening to this deep dive right now, you are taking information in. Your brain is just acting as a sponge.
And output, on the other hand, is what you actively produce. So that's writing and speaking.
Right. It is the literal act of creation. And if we look at the reality of modern language learning, there is just a massive systemic imbalance here.
An imbalance between the input and the output.
Yeah, a huge one. Most learners are likely spending like 90% of their time purely on input.
Wow, 90%?
Yeah, think about it. You binge watch YouTube videos, you absorb audiobooks, you read articles. Your input bucket is just overflowing.
So your brain is incredibly highly trained at decoding English.
Exactly. But your output bucket, it's practically empty because you never practice the creation part.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It kind of makes me think of culinary school.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, imagine you decide you want to be a master chef, right? So you watch hundreds of hours of Gordon Ramsay cooking shows.
Naturally.
Right. And you read 10 different Michelin star cookbooks. You know exactly what a perfect beef Wellington is supposed to look like and smell like.
Right, that's your input.
Exactly. But then someone hands you a professional chef's knife and tells you to finely dice an onion in 10 seconds.
Oh boy, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
All right, you are going to freeze up, or worse, you're going to chop off a finger. Because you have all the theoretical input, but absolutely zero physical output practice.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
Yeah.
You can't just jump into the professional kitchen and expect your hands to know what to do without practicing those knife skills first.
Exactly.
And, when you freeze up during a conversation, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's not a failure of your memory either.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it always feels like my memory is failing me.
I know, but it's not. All those words and grammar rules, they are safely stored in your cerebral cortex. The problem is purely neurological.
Okay, so what's happening neurologically then?
You basically haven't built the neural pathways required to retrieve that information quickly under pressure. You just lack the muscle memory for output.
Ah, so you've trained your brain to be an amazing receiver, but a terrible transmitter.
Exactly. So the obvious solution is that we have to consciously shift that balance. We have to start training the output.
Okay, so we need to practice speaking. But wait, this is where the approach in the video really caught me off guard.
The writing part.
Yeah, because the argument made in the source is that we shouldn't actually start by speaking at all. We should start by writing.
It does sound a bit backwards at first.
Right, I have to push back on that a bit. If someone is listening to us right now and they are frustrated because they can't speak in real-time conversations, why in the world are we telling them to sit down with a notebook?
I get it, it feels counterintuitive, but we have to consider the sheer cognitive load required to speak a second language.
The cognitive load, like how hard the brain is working.
Exactly. Think about what your brain is doing during a live conversation. It is a multi-layered, highly stressful operation.
Yeah, I guess you are doing a lot of things at once.
Oh, tons. You are actively listening to the other person, analyzing their underlying meaning, trying to formulate your own response.
Retrieving the necessary vocabulary, applying the grammar rules.
Right. And then on top of all that, sending signals to physically move your tongue and lips to produce these unfamiliar sounds. And you have to do all of that in milliseconds.
Wow, when you list it all out like that, sounds exhausting.
It is overwhelming. So writing, simply put, is speaking in slow motion.
Oh, writing is speaking in slow motion. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. It removes that ticking clock of a live human staring at you, waiting for your response.
Yeah, it gives you a safe, pressure-free sandbox to play in.
Exactly. It isolates the retrieval process. You get to practice finding the words and structuring the sentences without any of that immediate performance anxiety.
And once you get that output engine running at a manageable speed, then you can start accelerating.
Spot on.
So how do we start this engine without stalling? The video lays out a fascinating progression, and it starts incredibly small.
Really small.
Yeah, the very first phase is basically just breaking the seal. You don't sit down and write a huge essay. You just share your thoughts in YouTube comments.
Right. You're already watching English videos anyway, so you just scroll down and type a few words.
Like, I really loved this video, or, this was super helpful.
It seems almost too simple to be effective, doesn't it?
It really does. Like, how is that going to help me speak?
But the psychology behind it is crucial here. By doing that, you are crossing a psychological threshold. You are moving your identity from a passive consumer to an active producer.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah, those 5 little words in a comment section prove to your brain that you actually can generate output.
And once you break that seal, the strategy naturally evolves into building a daily habit. So step 2 is a daily journal.
Right. Just 5 to 10 sentences about your day.
Like, what did you do? How did you feel? That kind of thing. But there is a massive caveat here that the video brings up, and I think a lot of learners are really going to struggle to accept this.
Oh, the grammar rule.
Yes. When you are building this daily journaling habit, you are supposed to completely ignore grammar.
Which is incredibly hard to do.
It feels wrong.
It does, because we are so conditioned by traditional schooling to be terrified of making mistakes.
Oh, totally. We're taught that a grammatically incorrect sentence is a complete failure.
Right. But at this specific stage of the process, if you stop to agonize over whether to use the past perfect or simple past tense, you will completely kill your momentum.
But wait, doesn't ignoring grammar just reinforce bad habits? Like, if I'm writing incorrectly every single day, aren't I just memorizing the wrong way to speak?
That's a super valid concern. But you have to remember the primary objective of this phase. The goal right now isn't perfection. The goal is flow.
Flow, okay.
Yeah. You are trying to lubricate the neural pathways that connect a thought in your head to a word in English.
Oh, so if you constantly interrupt that pathway with anxiety about grammar rules.
The pathway never strengthens. You have to get the brain used to the physical act of generating spontaneous output first. The refinement comes later.
Okay, and that refinement is exactly what the third step is about.
Exactly.
So once the habit of output is established with the journal, you start introducing structure. You choose a simple topic like your dream holiday, and you write a single focused paragraph.
Just 100 words or so.
Right. And now grammar does matter. But instead of stressing over it or hiring an expensive tutor, the source suggests a really cool modern solution.
Yeah, leveraging AI.
Exactly. You paste that paragraph into a generative AI tool like ChatGPT or Gemini, and you use a very specific prompt.
The prompt is essentially telling the AI to act as an encouraging teacher.
Right. You ask it to find your grammar and vocabulary mistakes, explain exactly why they are wrong, and then show you the corrected version.
It is basically like having a private, highly patient tutor sitting right next to you, available 24/7 for free.
It's amazing. You aren't just writing into the void anymore. Your mind starts thinking about accuracy because you get immediate personalized feedback.
And you actually see the logic behind your mistakes.
Right. Which leads us to step 4 of the writing phase.
The escalation.
Yeah, you escalate from a short paragraph to a full multi-paragraph essay on a much harder topic. Like, is technology improving education?
Right, which forces your brain to practice sustaining output over a longer period. You have to link complex ideas and use transition words.
And the video mentions there are actually platforms that specialize in this now.
Oh, yeah. Environments like the PC English Academy have built AI grading tools that will analyze your essay specifically for vocabulary, coherence, and cohesion.
And it gives you an objective score.
Exactly. Tools like that gamify the process. It turns output from a chore into this measurable challenge.
Okay, so if we follow this progression, something fundamental changes in the brain.
Right, the neural pathways are built.
Exactly. We've used this slow-motion writing practice to build up the pathways for word retrieval and sentence construction. The mental gears are finally turning.
But mental practice isn't enough.
Right, because speaking isn't just a cognitive exercise, it's highly physical.
Oh, it is entirely physical. Your vocal cords, your tongue, your lips, your diaphragm, they all need to move in highly specific, coordinated ways.
To produce those unique phonetic sounds of a new language.
Exactly. It's just like going to the gym to train your biceps. You have to literally train your mouth to develop muscle memory for English.
So if you only ever write, your mouth never learns how to dance to the rhythm of the language.
That's a great way to put it.
So we have to transition from the mental sandbox to physical articulation. And the first step for speaking is super simple.
Just reading out loud.
Right. You open any book in English and you read it loudly, not just whispering to yourself, but really projecting your voice.
This is so crucial because it isolates the physical mechanics. By reading a book, you are bypassing the difficult cognitive work of sentence creation.
Because the author already did that work for you.
Exactly. Your only job is physical articulation. You are training your facial muscles to make the shapes required for English sounds without the stress of thinking about what to say next.
That makes a lot of sense. But I will say, just sitting at a desk reading out loud can feel a bit monotonous after a while.
Yeah, it can get boring.
Which is where the creator of the video introduces a really clever psychological adjustment for step 2. They call it the mind trick.
Oh, the mind trick is brilliant.
It really is. So you do the exact same thing. You read a book out loud, but this time you stand up.
You walk around the room?
Yeah. You use hand gestures. You actively pretend that you are delivering this information to a live audience. But why does changing your physical posture make such a huge difference?
Well, it comes down to state-dependent memory and spatial awareness.
Okay, getting a little scientific on us.
Just a bit. When you just sit quietly at your desk and read aloud, your brain still categorizes the activity mostly as an input session.
Because you're just passively converting text to sound.
Exactly. But the moment you stand up, pace the room, and imagine an audience, you trigger your brain's proprioception. You shift your internal context.
Oh, so your nervous system recognizes that you are performing an active external delivery.
Right. You literally trick your brain into bridging the gap between simply pronouncing words and actually communicating ideas.
That is fascinating. It's like tricking your brain into a state of heightened focus. But honestly, my absolute favorite technique discussed for physical articulation is step 3.
Shadowing.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. If you've never heard of shadowing, it is an absolute game changer for sounding natural.
Okay.
You find a video of a native speaker whose accent and clarity you really admire. You listen to one of their sentences, you pause the video, and you repeat the sentence exactly how they said it.
It is the linguistic equivalent of tracing a complex drawing before you ever attempt to sketch it freehand.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, because you aren't just copying the vocabulary.
Right.
You are internalizing the melody, the rhythm, the intonation, and the pauses.
You are absorbing the music of the language. And the specific example given in the source video is shadowing Barack Obama.
A classic example.
Right. And look, regardless of your politics, linguistically speaking, the man's cadence is just legendary. He is a masterclass in pacing.
He really is.
So the exercise is to watch a clip of him speaking, and you mirror it exactly. He says, I wanted to be a basketball player. You pause the video and you repeat, I wanted to be a basketball player, matching his exact tone.
And then he says, I was inspired by social movements. Pause, repeat.
Exactly. Play, listen, pause, repeat.
And shadowing someone like that is so effective because of how they naturally manipulate sound. Obama uses dramatic, deliberate pauses. He enunciates his consonants clearly.
He varies his pitch to maintain attention.
Right, and when you shadow that, you naturally bypass your analytical brain. You stop sounding like a robot meticulously reading a textbook, and you start developing the natural rhythmic flow of a confident speaker.
It's such a cool technique. But, okay, here's a reality we really have to address. Everything we've talked about so far is highly controlled.
Very controlled, yeah.
What happens when you have massive social anxiety? Like, what if the idea of practicing in front of another human being makes your palms sweat and your mind just go totally blank?
The anxiety factor is massive. We can't
Yeah.
ignore it. When you are terrified of making a mistake in front of a native speaker, your brain literally gets flooded with cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that cortisol can actively block the memory retrieval centers in your hippocampus.
Oh, wow. So it's a physical block.
Yes, social anxiety eats up a huge percentage of your brain's processing power. You're so worried about sounding stupid that you don't have enough cognitive RAM left to actually find the English words you need.
That explains so much.
Yeah.
So how do you practice spontaneous output without that crippling fear of judgment?
Well, step four's advice is honestly a bit hilarious, but profoundly practical.
Yes, the source says, if you want to improve, you have to embrace being a little crazy.
Yeah. You have to talk to yourself.
You literally argue with your bathroom mirror.
It is the safest possible environment to fail. You
Yeah.
go look in the mirror and you have a full-blown conversation with an imaginary friend or, imaginary coach.
You fabricate a whole scenario.
Exactly. You look at yourself and say, the economy's really tough right now. Saving money is harder. What do you think?
And then you literally play the other side. You say, I totally agree with you. It's a real challenge.
Right. You are forcing your brain to generate spontaneous, unscripted output, but you have completely removed the human element that causes that cortisol spike.
It is like taking the training wheels off the bicycle, but leaving the thick safety mats on the ground.
Exactly.
But let's say you want something slightly more interactive than arguing with your bathroom mirror.
Understandable.
We live in an era where technology has fundamentally altered how we can practice language. Step 5 is practicing with AI.
It is a revolutionary bridge between talking to yourself and talking to a real person.
Right, because using the voice modes on tools like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, you suddenly have an infinitely patient conversation partner right in your pocket.
And usually for free, at least for like 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, you can just turn on the voice feature while you're commuting or, cooking dinner and say, "Hi, I'm a student trying to improve my English speaking. Ask me a question about my hobbies."
And the AI responds in a perfectly natural conversational tone like, "Sure, tell me about a hobby you really enjoy."
You answer, and the AI carries the conversation forward based on what you said.
It's entirely dynamic. It requires real-time word retrieval, but there is absolutely zero pressure.
Right, and AI isn't going to judge your accent or roll its eyes if you forget a verb conjugation.
Exactly. And if you want to push beyond just casual chat, many digital learning communities have integrated specialized tools for this.
Like PC English Academy we mentioned earlier.
Yes, exactly. They utilize AI-speaking teachers that are designed to do way more than just chat.
What do they do?
They actually listen to your spoken answers and provide immediate analytical feedback on your grammar, your coherence, and your vocabulary.
Oh, wow. So it takes the guesswork completely out of solo practice.
Right. It gives you a tangible way to measure your improvement before you ever speak to a real person.
Which is incredible. We have so many amazing tools to simulate conversation now. And I think this is the crucial turning point of this entire deep dive. Nobody spends years learning a new language just to talk to their smartphone or chat with a robot.
No, definitely not. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the ultimate purpose of language.
Right. Why do we go through all this effort?
It is about human connection. It's about empathy. It's about being able to share your unique ideas, your humor, and your personality with another living, breathing person.
The AI is fantastic for training. The mirror is a great warm-up, but the final destination, the true peak of fluency, has to involve real people.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the final and probably most intimidating step, social application.
Right. Step 6, you have to actually talk to other people.
Now, the key here isn't to just walk out your front door and strike up a complex political debate with a random native speaker on the street.
Oh, no, please don't do that. That is a recipe for a panic attack.
Seriously. The trick is to find a peer community. You need to find people who are in the exact same boat as you.
You need an environment where vulnerability is the baseline.
Yeah, if everyone is learning, everyone is making mistakes, and everyone is supportive, the fear of judgment just largely evaporates.
And Digital communities are perfect for this. When you join a dedicated learning space, whether it's a forum, a Discord server, or an academy with daily live Zoom lessons, you solve the logistics problem of finding a conversation partner.
Right, because whenever you have a free 20 minutes, you log on, you find a study partner who is at your exact proficiency level, and you just start talking.
The pressure is totally off because the person you are speaking with is also actively trying to remember the right verb tense.
Exactly. You are finally practicing the ultimate form of language output. Spontaneous, real-time, messy, beautiful human connection.
It's amazing. Think about the journey we've just mapped out here. We started with the tiny, low-stakes act of typing a single YouTube comment, and we systematically progressed all the way to having live video calls with global study partners.
It is a highly logical, highly effective ladder to fluency.
It really is.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring all of this together for our listener.
Yeah, let's recap.
If you are sitting on that couch, effortlessly understanding every word of an English movie, but you completely freeze the moment you try to speak, I want you to internalize this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your brain.
You do not have a bad memory.
No, you are simply suffering from a massive input-output imbalance.
Your mental reservoir of vocabulary is completely full, but you haven't built the neurological plumbing to pump that knowledge out into the world.
Precisely. And the strategy we've explored today is how you build that plumbing. You start small to build the mental pathways.
You write a daily journal where you banish the fear of grammar.
Right. You use AI to refine a short paragraph. Then you train the physical muscle. You read out loud.
You pace the room, pretending to give a presentation to contextualize your body.
You shadow the cadence of great speakers. You embrace the crazy, and you talk to yourself in the mirror to bypass that social anxiety.
You debate with an AI voice mode.
And finally, you step into a community of fellow learners to connect for real. You are systematically, step by step, building your output muscle memory.
It completely takes the mystery out of the mental block. It is just a matter of putting in the physical and cognitive reps.
It really is. And, I am not going to let you, the listener, just passively absorb this information.
Uh-oh, homework time.
Yes, I don't want this deep dive to just be more input for your overflowing bucket. I'm assigning you homework right now, today.
Let's hear it.
As soon as you finish listening to us, I want you to go to a YouTube video, any video in English, scroll down to the comments, and write exactly one sentence about what you thought of it.
Break the seal.
Yes. Cross that threshold from consumer to producer today.
I think that's the perfect challenge. But as you go do that, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to hull over.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
You've spent this entire time dissecting the struggle of learning a second language,
Yeah.
right? But consider the underlying premise. Output is a physical and mental muscle that literally atrophies without active use.
Okay, yeah.
If that is true, how much of our native language fluency are we slowly losing in our modern digital age?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. We spend hours every single day consuming endless digital input, scrolling through feeds, watching short-form videos, reading quick hot takes. But how rarely do we actually sit down to produce long-form, thoughtful, spoken or written output ourselves?
That is a terrifying thought, honestly. Are we all just sitting on the couch watching the movie of life and slowly forgetting how to speak our own native languages?
It is definitely something to think about the next time you feel your brain freeze.
Wow. A huge thank you to everyone for tuning in to Commute English Learning Pro today. Keep practicing, keep stepping out of your comfort zone, and we will see you on the next deep dive.